Okay, so in this video we're just going to have a look at where learning to drive fits in amongst the competing draws you have on your limited amount of time. And so to bring that to life, if we look at this this picture here, the guy in the funny hat is my mate Colin. And well, it's hard to imagine from that photo. Colin is in fact a teacher. So he's a science teacher. So he will teach the combined sciences to foundation level, and his specialist subject, so his advanced A-level subject, would be biology. And he's also a PE and sports teacher. So when my daughter was studying A-level biology, Colin was naturally the guy I called to give her some additional coaching. And he helped her achieve her objectives, the grades she needed to go on her chosen career path. So, top job. Thanks, Colin. But unbeknown to Colin at that time, the advice I was giving both of my children was that as their father, I would much rather they failed all of their A-levels, their BTECs, whatever other courses they were doing at that time. I'd rather they failed them all and yet learnt to drive safely. It's a bit of an odd piece of career guidance to give your children. But the reality is, messing up your A-levels, your BTECs, whatever studies you're doing, won't kill you. There'll be another one along in 6 months' time. You can have a resit, have another try. The world's not going to stop spinning. And yet, if you mess up in one of these things, or on a motorbike, it might just kill you. So statistically, outside of medical nasties, which can befall any of us, messing up in one of these things, or on a motorbike, is the thing most likely to end a young person's life prematurely, or do them injuries which change the course and direction in which their life goes in. Life-changing injuries. It just puts things into a little bit of context when you think about it in those terms. So let's go back and have a look now at Colin's second subject area, PE, sport. So Colin, in his own right, is a talented sports player, quite an inspirational guy to watch. And Colin coached me in football, rugby, and other sports, in fact. And from a coaching perspective, I mean, he wasn't blessed with a wide talent pool in our area, and so I'd always get a game for the team. But if we use Colin as our avatar of the sports coach, you can insert your own sports coach if it works and if the analogy fits. But think about, let's take the offside rule as an example we can probably all relate to. Think of the hours over many years that you spent learning the offside rule, and the passion with which that was coached and administered on match day. Mr. Pascoe used to get quite animated if you found yourself offside. And at the end of the day, what was at stake there? The outcome of the game, which would impact the outcome of your league position at the end of the season. But whilst all important objectives to go for, nobody was going to die that day for being offside. So let's just put it in context. So if we now relate that back to my subject of driving, so I coach driving to basic level, to L test, the minimum legal standard required to operate independently on our roads. I also coach it to advanced level, preparations for the advanced driving test, so the A levels, if you like, of advanced driving tests, and to levels above that. So that's my subject and why I'm passionate about my subject, in the way the sports coach is passionate about what they do. Your A-level coach will be passionate about what they do. But so if we find an analogy, let's take one of the highway code rules. We can relate then to the offside rule. So highway code rule 126, one of my favourite rules in the highway code. If just in the way of Colin were here now, in a couple of minutes he could explain to us the offside rule. There's the line, the ball's kicked. You don't want to be the other side of it. Yep. So, and in the cold light of day, that would be quite simple for us to understand conceptually. And yet, despite all of those hours and hours of training and practice, on match day, in the dynamic situation of the game, even the professionals get it wrong. And so relate that now, as we said, to Highway Code Rule 126, often referred to as shorthand as the 2-second rule. Put a bit of a diagram up on screen, and just from that diagram, you're probably getting the gist of what it's about. You think, yeah, got that, let's move on, come on. Busy time, let's move on. But it doesn't take a drive very far along any motorway in this country to recognise that in the dynamic ebb and flow of driving, very few base level L-test drivers fully grasp the concept of the 2-second rule. And so just for, to put that into context, when you say to your driving instructor, can we have a couple of hours on the motorway just to tick that box, we need a motorway lesson, can we get that done? Just to understand realistically what you're asking them to do within the context of time that you have devoted to other areas of study and focus in your life at this time. And the consequences of getting the 2-second rule wrong and running out of road, which incidentally is one of the most common types of collision, the rear end shunt. So getting it wrong, as I say, running out of road is likely, if you're unfortunate, to do life-changing injuries to your lower limbs, your neck, your back, spine, which is likely to have an impact on how you play sport in later life, or indeed how you move around in later life. And if you're really unlucky in that scenario and a fuel tank ruptures or the impact is particularly heavy, the consequences can be even more severe than that. And yet most driving coaches aren't able to get quite as passionate about that subject as their sporting counterparts, because outside of the excitement of a sports field, that level of passion would be a bit weird. But it is important in the cold light of day to understand the risks of not preparing yourself safely for the road carry with them. And so just to illustrate that point, I'll end here and just run some footage of a drive I took along a stretch of motorway in torrential rain, and I'll let you evaluate that. And just to be clear, I'm not holding this up to be an illustration or a demonstration of good driving. My objective that day was actually testing a couple of the rubber components on our car from our flower checks, so the R for rubber. So I was looking at wiper blades and a wet rated tyres in the context of that drive, and in some areas was pushing their limit to evaluate it. I wanted to see what spray from other vehicles, what impact that would have on how well the wipers worked. So be clear, I'm not holding this up to be a demonstration of good driving, far from it. And at an advanced level, you could criticize it in many areas. But just have a watch of that. Check your understanding of the 2-second rule, whether or not I was conforming to it. And just have a little think and a reflect on what we've said here and how you are allocating your time and your priorities in this busy period of your life. And drive safe, whatever you do.